Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are you today? I'm your host, Ryan Newpol here. Welcome to the Noob Sports Show, episode 138. We're moving up there in episode numbers. I really appreciate you giving us some of your time on this Tuesday. We are live. We are on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitch. We're all over the place. So you can find us out there, Sports 2.0 Network or Ryan Newpol out on LinkedIn. Hey, we have another special guest. That's what we like to do here. We like to bring on people in the iGaming, in the sports betting industry, people with influence, people with ideas, people that are doing great things. And today we have another guest that's going to join us and talk a little bit about what he's been up to and what he's doing in this space. So without further ado, we have Kevin Epstein, Kevin Allen, the geek. We have Kevin with us. Kevin, thank you for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to finally be on the show.
Absolutely. We really appreciate your time, and I cannot wait to hear your story and actually hear where Sharp came about, and then dive deep into Sharp and understand what it's all about and what the capabilities are, because I know it's going to be a huge app. So we'll get into that in a bit, but first I want to hear a bit about Kevin. What makes Kevin tick? Where did you get your start in this industry, and kind of go from there. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Kevin.
Really great question. So basically I got my start in the fantasy sports industry back in 2011. And for me, I was a fantasy football really fanatic, somebody who just loved playing it, looking for as much as possible. And when FanDuel was created back in 2011, I would consider myself what I'd call an early adapter. So
Yeah.
I discovered it really years before most.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd just been looking for another league. I wasn't in enough leagues. I wanted more action. I always wanted more action. And so having discovered FanDuel in 2011, I kind of threw $100 into it just to treat it like any other fantasy football league I was in. And I was playing it for that year. And I was like, my God, this is amazing. I love this. And if I love this, other people are going to love it too. And that's really how I got my start, because I looked at it and went, my friends are going to love this. Everybody knows going to love this. So by 2012, after I had vetted to the point where I was like, oh, this isn't a scam where they're stealing your money, because to me, anything online gambling felt like there might be a component of scam going on. As soon as I discovered it wasn't, I was like, man, I started a blog just because I had told all my friends about it, and they would call me and ask me for advice on what to do that week. Tying it into sports betting, I discovered what was a revelation in 2012. Now, this revelation is going to sound like the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your life, like the most obvious thing. But in 2012, I promise you it was not. The revelation I discovered was that if you used game totals from the Vegas books, to determine fantasy football outcomes, you could be much more accurate than whatever the nothing was that was available. No one was doing this.
Yeah, right.
And I promise you, everybody's like, what are you talking about? That's the most obvious thing. No one was doing it. So I started a blog, just like where it was called Geeks Vegas Lines. And what I would do is I would go through every game of the week. I'd look at the total and I'd say, hey, you know what? This is over 50 points. Oh, there's a big spread here, which favors a running back. I had a couple of rules of thumb that I was able to use. And in 2012, that was enough to dominate on FanDuel, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So it was a very simple blog that I would do. And by the end of that season, and this was on Blogspot, like I didn't know I had a job. I had other things going on. This was just Blogspot. And it was really just shared with my friends who I had introduced to the platform, because
wow,
it was, what was funny? There was an affiliate deal. And if your friends would play, you'd get a piece of their commission. So
sure.
There was a benefit to me for not just referring these people, but having them play successfully. If they're winning, it's not like it's worse for you. It's better for you. You want them winning and playing more. So this blog, by the end of 2012, was getting 100,000 hits a month.
Wow.
And yeah, it was crazy. And it was just a blog on blogspot.com. When I tell you this, that there was no promotion, I had another job. So the blog just became very popular because no one was doing this type of content.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I quickly became one of the top players, one of the top ranked players in the world. I was top 30 at one point, top 50, that kind of thing. And, from there, we just grew. So that's how I got my start in this industry overall. I built out a company called DFS Army, which was daily fantasy sports focused. I quickly realized within that group that, oh wow, having a blog and 1,000, all these views, that translated into a lot of people who are willing to subscribe to a site for a newsletter and all of that. And one thing about me, I'm different. So I said, I don't really need this for for income. I have a job and I'm making money playing DFS, but there are tools that I really want to have.
Yeah.
But I don't want to build it just for myself. So I started taking all the, as we started the subscription group, I would take all of the funds that were coming in and build tools for this group. And so it became like a team, like, hey, we're going to use our funds to build tools. So, that's how we grew DFS Army and fast forward to now. A couple of years ago, I'm looking at the landscape. It was actually the beginning of COVID, March of 2020. Now, we all had a lot of trauma we were going through at that time. But one of the things that was happening was we had like a lot of time, like everything shut down. I'm sitting home.
Sure.
Just doing nothing. And I said, I started thinking about the rise of sports betting and how it seemed to be very similar timing wise to when I started with daily fantasy sports, which was really at the beginning of what I believe is a massive explosion of sports gambling across the U.S. I think if people are watching this show, they're well aware of that.
Exactly.
So I looked at that and I said, one of the things we had a lot of success with was with DFS Army was being early to market, but also having a different approach where everything I built, I essentially built for myself. Meaning, I looked at myself as the consumer and said, you know what? Here are tools that I really want for me. Like it was never some corporate entity that said, hey, we're gonna put these tools out there and do these things. It was, what do I need for my game? I really could, I need like this type of optimum. I need this level of stacking system. I need ownership percentages. I need all the little details that I wanted for me. I would build. And so I said, I have the same needs for sports betting. Like, I don't like the idea of following some tout with the cowboy hat and a fire flames next to their name. I don't like it. So I said, what do I want? And there were just a set of tools. Like, I really love player props. So I said, what would be awesome would be a tool where we took, for example, our DFS projections, which are, I believe, better than what the sports books produce, because I play a lot of money based on these Like I wager a lot of money based on these.
You trust them.
Yes. So I said, wouldn't it be cool if I could compare that against every single book in existence and find not just the best prop plays for myself, but the best outs for the same prop play. So I want to know that I have Aaron Rodgers projected for 272 yards this week. I want to know what every book has for Aaron Rodgers passing yards this week. And I can look at Sugar Hill. I can look at Caesars. I can look at MGM. I can look at DraftKings, FanDuel. And, oh, wow, you know what? They're all different. Not only are they all different, but there's arbitrage available. Like, it's not like the money line changes. It's like one has it at 262, the other one has it at 258, and it's the same money line. So I go, wow. Number one, I want this ability. I want to be able to quickly know which is the best out for any bet that I want to do, and I also want to compare my models to that. I mean, there's so many other things. Like, for example, so that's one of the tools that we have going. I have some other tools that are almost secret that my favorite ideas, I almost want to hold back because I don't want them to be copied until we actually release them. But we have some tools coming. So part of the Sharp app is a bet tracker. And we're able to build some really amazing tools off of this bet tracker that no one's doing, and I believe will revolutionize essentially just the tools for sports betting approach. I don't want to give it away until we actually go live with those, but we have some stuff coming like that. But I'll give another example. It's not just comparative odds. The other thing that I thought about when we're putting Sharp together was, and this is actually, again, I love these. I'm going to tell you the story. I'm sitting in a restaurant in New Jersey. Again, height of COVID. Okay. It's Jersey. And I had to go to Jersey because I think New York had been shut down. I'm in Jersey. Okay. I'm close to there. And I'm sitting at a table, and at the table behind me is a young fellow I'm going to say in his mid-20s. He's having dinner with his mother and his sister. Now, why I know it all, they were sitting a little close. Okay, I could hear the conversation.
Yeah.
I could hear it. And he's talking about, oh my God, you won't believe it. I can bet on this app, right? And he's just telling his mom or his sister,
Yeah.
lovely people, couldn't tell the difference.
Huh.
I'm being polite. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
he's telling, how you do that. Anyway, all right, it doesn't matter. So he's telling his mom and sister, oh, it's so cool. And I went checking. I really don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what these numbers mean. But I really, it seems awesome.
Yeah.
I really want to bet on sports.
Want to bet.
So the realization came to me. I said, and I remember this when I was just getting to sports gambling, because I come from fantasy football, right? I don't have a background where I've been betting with a bookie going back to my teens. I wasn't that guy. We have those people on our team. That's but that's not me. I approach this as the consumer. And I remember going, you know what? I had that same issue. Like, I didn't really know what a money line was. I didn't understand what EV meant. I didn't know implied probability. I didn't even fully grasp, like, what is that? What's a round robin? How do you do it? I don't know. What's a parlay? All of these things that are intimidating for newer sports bettors. I said, we need to, no one's focused on it. No one's really gone in and said, hey, how do we got to educate people so that they at least have a clue what they're doing. So everybody pretends like they know what they're doing, but a lot of people have no idea, and it's embarrassing to ask. So as part of the Sharp concept, we created something called Sharp Academy, which was, and I believe, the only real organized training course that takes people from the basics of EV, hedging, all the terminologies that you might want to know, bankroll management, what is a unit, how to determine a unit. We get into advanced things that even go above my head, like Poisson distributions and everything. So it's a course that really starts, of course, hedging, how to hedge, when to hedge. We put together this training course that goes from the most basic concepts for a sports bettor into really advanced concepts. And the idea is remove some of that layer of intimidation for newer bettors, because the U.S. market is not a mature sports gambling market as much as you and I, like, you might think, I've been sports betting my whole life. Sure, we have that. John Alicia, our head of sports bet. He was walking around in high school with those sheets, giving them out to his buddies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are people who have been deep in it for years, but the vast majority have not. I mean, it hasn't been legal. Most of the people are not comfortable online gambling overseas.
Sure.
And up until 2 years ago, you had to be physically standing in Las Vegas, Nevada, in order to place the sports bet. So most people just have never done it. And we figured, let's go after that group. Let's educate them. Let's teach them how to not be a degenerate, how to bet, how to understand what a good bet might look like. And so that was really a major focus of the app. That's where the Sharp Academy component comes in.
Wow, Kevin, you just took me on a journey there. I mean, that was thank you for going in such depth about your story, and it's amazing to me. I know this because I'm a DFS guy as well, and I relate to many of your stories of back in the day, right? Back in 2012, back when all of FanDuel was just getting started, and I very much relate to a lot of that. I got some questions about DFS though. So, I mean, you're one of the top players, or considered one of the top players in the world. Give us some of your some of your best experiences. Have you been to any of the live events? Have you, I'm assuming, won some pretty big events there? Anything you've taken down or had a pleasure of being at?
I'll give you, I was at King of the Beach. My favorite event that I've ever been to was the King of the Beach, mainly because it's at the beach. And I was able to bring my family. So I just remember the fun part of that win in particular. It wasn't just, I think getting into it was an awesome story, but I have a pretty good story of the actual lineup. But getting into it was really cool, just because I had told my kids and my wife and kids, like, hey, this is something that we could take you to Miami. It's November. It's going to be awesome. We're staying at the Lowe's. There's going to be beach. And I'm like, this would be something fun for you guys to actually do. And so the King of the Beach win by far was my favorite live event, like one of my favorite things that I've ever done, because I got to take the family with me and they got a vacation out of it, which was awesome. And the way I got in, I mean, it was almost an accident. I was kind of juggling between a couple of different tight ends to balance out a roster. I'll never forget the guy who got me there. So the way that contest worked, 107 people qualified, 170 people qualified with like a $10,000 value ticket, and then you had to be in the top like 50 of that group to actually get the trip.
Sure.
And so I understood. All right, I'm in 171st. I think it was maybe 75. So I was in 200 person contest. Maybe the top 75 got through. So it was like kind of like a 50-50, but a little bit sharper. And I was debating between these two tight ends, and somehow I like paying down at tight end in DFS. That's my thing. I don't like to pay unless it's Kelsey last year, but in general, I'm trying to take these cheap tight ends and
snag a touchdown out of them somehow.
Yeah, and just hopefully don't burn you. But even if they did for under $3K on driving, like who cares?
Yeah.
So I landed on. I was like, you know how your last minute switching. Sometimes I'm just messing with something, and with seconds to go, I just dropped like the Jets tight end in there. It was Ryan Griffin of all people, and I won't forget it because he had the best game he's ever had in his career. He put up 26 points. And I just but I regretted the right. I was like, oh man, I should have went with Greg Olsen or some other cheap guy.
Yeah.
Was more chalky in the contest. And Ryan Griffin ends up putting up 26 points. I'm like in like second place in the qualifier, which was unfortunate because I was like, hey man, I should have saved that second place for the actual contest. I got there in the qualifier. But the kids were so excited. That's what was so cool. They were jumping around like we're going to Miami and the whole thing. So that was really like they normally don't care when I have a win. Like I can give the other story of like when I'm in first place in a contest and I like wake my wife up like, yeah, I'm about to win 50 grand, and she's like, why are you bothering me? Like,
just love the feeling though. I just love the feeling of that. I mean, if people haven't really sweat a good DFS contest, you're missing out because it's such a fun feeling and it's just a good time. I got the pleasure. I know this isn't about me, but I got the pleasure to go to the Playboy Mansion and NBA FanDuel contest and got to go there. I did not bring the whole family to that. We'll just say we'll just leave it at that. I did bring the wife though, so I think I get a plus for that. But what a great contest! Again, I didn't have the best performance at the live event, but I was there. It was fun. It's a story I can tell my kids someday.
Always fun to go to live event. I'm not a live event chaser. I do like my ROI. I like to be profitable, and those are not the best. Those are more. Those are a little bit more, I would say, for show than they are for making money. Like the contest itself tends to be extremely top heavy. A lot of the money that goes into it goes to pay for the trip. So I've never really. I did chase it really hard for a couple of years, to be honest, but I was losing money chasing them.
Exactly.
So I said, you know what? Let me try to focus on my ROI. Exactly. I have a terrible beat story. Actually, everybody loves a bad beat, right?
Oh yeah.
I'll give you my bad beat story. I think it was 2015. And I was chasing the DraftKings live final that whole season. Was it DraftKings? Yeah, I feel like it would have been DraftKings, right? Okay. So I was chasing a live final appearance. It might have been FanDuel. Actually, I do think it was FanDuel. It was a FanDuel, and I was chasing the live. It was still early in the cycle for DraftKings, actually. I think FanDuel was much bigger at the time. And I said to myself going into that season, I'm going to chase this all year. And so the closest I came that year was back in that time, your tournaments went all the way through Monday night. There was no Sunday, Monday. There was no separation. It was an all-week tournament.
It's all or nothing.
So I'm in this qualifier. I'm in the Millie Maker. I'm in everything with a particular lineup that I had probably I assume I had handcrafted, but I don't remember. I don't think we had optimizers at that time. So I would imagine, I handcrafted it. And it's Monday night. We're going into it, and without getting too detailed, it was the Steelers were in the game. I don't remember the opponent, but what I do know, I think it might have been San Francisco. Again, not sure. Can't remember who the opponent was, but what I do know was I had such a lead. I'm in first place. I'm winning the million. I'm in, or might have been 250,000. Like I said, I don't remember the exact number, but I'm in first place in that. I'm in first place everywhere. We're in the fourth quarter of this game. I don't remember if I had players going, but what I do know is that people who were chasing me, the only person who could burn me was Le'Veon Bell. And he was still, we were in the fourth quarter and he was
Uh-huh.
still like 15, 17 points away from
Yeah.
passing me.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger goes into one of his patented at the time 3-minute like 12 full quarter long 3-minute drills where he winds up completing over the course of 2 drives something like 13 passes to Le'Veon Bell. A touchdown was scored. I had already written my ticket. I was like calling. I was waking up the wife. I was like, "You got to come see. I'm about to win this," and the whole deal. My guy puts something like 17 fantasy points up in the fourth quarter in garbage time, just like in kill the clock time, because that's what Ben Roethlisberger would do. They wouldn't even run it. They would pass, they would throw and throw and throw to Le'Veon Bell. And it was the worst beat I've ever had.
You're watching, and you're just watching that standings board, and you're sitting there watching, and everybody's creeping up, and you're like, no.
I'm like, first, I'm like, all right, I'm not winning the 250K, but I'm in 100,000. Oh shit! Now he scored even more. Like
all of a sudden, I'm winning $50, right?
Yes, all these levels. It was a good win, but I wound up. So I was in a qualifier. It was heartbreaking. I was in a qualifier where the top 2 get the ticket to the finals. I'm in first. I'm in second. Finish in third, miss the ticket, and that is a disaster in a qualifier. Missing the ticket is a disaster.
Wow.
In the giant contest, that same lineup had dropped from 250 to 100,000. I think it wound up as a $20,000 win, which was fine at the time.
Yeah,
but like,
what could have been? What could have been?
Yeah,
Kevin,
it went from like $250,000 and a trip to the final to like a crazy Le'Veon Bell. The problem was I allowed myself to believe that it was going to happen. That's really where I disappointed.
Yeah,
like that's why now, until
negative mindset until I'm like it's done and there's no more corrections, no stat correction, nothing.
Game over, no celebration. Give me like 20 minutes. Make sure the stats don't correct, and then I can relax. So yeah, that was a real bad beat situation for me.
Wow, I think we could go all day and tell bad beats and good stories. But let's get back on track here, Kevin. Let's get back to what we're really here for. We want to talk a little bit more about Sharp. So tell me more. First of all, I love the shirt, love the brand. I'm gonna have to get me one of those. I love that brand there. That's a nice looking logo. Tell me a little bit about how I obviously know what Sharp means in this space, but just tell us a little bit about how the brand developed and how it came about, and how that whole process went about.
Yeah. So obviously you know the term Sharp, and that's a big component for us. We love we got a real slick logo going, but Sharp, it just boiled down and there was a few different name iterations originally that we had thought about, but in the end, Sharp. I mean, what do you want to be? You want to be a Sharp. What's a Sharp? A Sharp is a wise guy. A Sharp is the guy that calls the bookie, and when he places a bet, the bookie changes his line based on that. The bookie's like, all right, now I'm going to move the line, like a real bookmaker would do that. Like the worst version of it, when the Sharp calls up, says, hey, we're limiting you, but it's a person that moves the line. So we really want to teach people using the app how to become a Sharp, how to bet like a Sharp, how to think like a Sharp. So everything we're doing and building in is really designed, again, around not tools that some corporation feels would be, pretty looking on a photograph, but rather down and dirty bettors want this. Like the first thing that we really built in was like, all right, I'll give you an example. We could have used what's called I even forget, like not the real odds, but we could have used like a combination odd number that kind of like just takes the average of all the odds for a bet and just shows you that, right, for every bet. We could have done that. And by the way, it would have been a lot easier, right? That number is really readily available and it's easier to display. But what I wanted was for our odds tables, as an example, I wanted comparative odds. When you go on the Sharp app and you look up odds for the games for this weekend, for NFL 2 weeks from now, let's say, the numbers aren't all the same. So we pluck out the best number from the best book and show that to you as the best odds number. So right off the bat, I mean, I could jump on there and give you an example, but I'll give you, I'm sure what's on there. Like there'll be a game where, the Colts are plus 1.5. on one book, but they're going to be +2 or +2.5 on another book. So the first thing we're trying to do is identify the best out and put that right in front of you on our odds table. We're just a tool that I want. I need that as a sports bettor. You know, we know as sports bettors that finding the best out is probably going to lead to you being more profitable than literally anything else you could ever do. That will be the best move you can ever do as a sports bettor. John, our lead sports gambling content guy, who's an incredible professional gambler, John Alicia, who does the Sharp Academy course. He tells stories, you know, these old school cappers tell the stories of having runners in Vegas that would run from sports book to sports book to get you this book, they'd have a guy physically running there. Now we have apps on our phone, so I don't need a runner in Vegas. But imagine how much effort the old school sports bettor, the old school sharps would do, having these guys running around Las Vegas trying to get the best number, going from MGM to Caesars to wherever they went. So I was like, well, we can do that right here on our phone. Let's focus on that. So we focused on education. We focused on this data and presenting it in a way that's really, really helpful to sports bettors. The other thing is, of course, the bet tracker that we put in there, a technology that just allows you as a user. It goes from entry-level bettors to advanced ones in the term. What I tell beginners is, don't bet real money. Start off with the system. Track yourself. Track it as if you're betting. Number one, it's fun, right? Like, it's fun to track it. Even if you don't have real money on the line, you can, when you track, hey, I have wins, I have losses, there's a leaderboard. So it's fun to track your bets in a sense. But it gives you like even a rooting interest. It's kind of like, I mean, there's a little bit of lameness to it, but it's not too much. It's kind of like, you ever been, there's like people who play poker for no money or a fantasy football league, you know, and it's kind of like, there's no money. I'm like, you're playing fantasy football. There's no
all
money.
in. Like,
but it's something. But I think the fantasy football league with no money is more, it's like, well, there's a punishment for the loser. I play with my friends, but we don't play for money.
Bragging rights.
All right, it's a little lame, but okay, if that makes you happy, those guys are watching the games and appreciating their teams. So, but with bet tracking, the reason we want people to do it, test your system out, make sure you're profitable, and if you're not, don't like start betting a lot of money. Like, even if you want to just get some action and you want to kind of do your system, do it at a low level, at the $10, you know, like just an affordable enough amount that it's for entertainment for you.
Sure,
not like, I'm trying to make money off of this. I'm just trying to get a little more action or excitement watching this game, until you figure out, hey, I figured out a system where I'm actually winning at 60% or I'm doing pretty good. So now you can maybe put a little bit more action on a system or an approach that you're using. So we love the tracker for that reason, because you could test things out in real time, and it's real. Like you get your bets graded, you can see your wins and losses, and you can then go back a month or two later and say, hey, I've placed 200 fake bets, and here's how I did. Wow. I'm glad I wasn't betting those for real, because I would have lost my ass. Or the opposite, which is, wow, whatever I'm doing pretty good. I'm winning at this rate. Maybe I'll start putting some money on the system. So it's really helpful. Again, and it focuses back on newer bettors. Let yourself prove you have a system before you start really putting much risk on it. And of course, experienced bettors, who having a tracker is just super helpful, because if you're getting your outs across multiple books, it's nice to actually see what bets you've actually placed, because we forget.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely a needed app. Where are you at in the life cycle of this app? I mean, is it readily available for people watching this show to go out and download and start using? How do they get to it?
Absolutely. So we actually launched the app last week. So we are in the beginning phase of the app. We actually have a lot of what we call an MVP. The app is what we call MVP content, meaning it's basically the beginnings of what it will become. All the things I mentioned are there, but we have a ton of ideas, and it's going to be built out more robust. People will see more features, more items every single week. I have a ton of ideas for tools. If you go to the App Store, the iOS App Store, just type in Sharp app. You can grab the app there. You can grab it on Google Play. Also type in Sharp app. Or if you just go to the website, sharp.app, there are links to download the app itself. And one of the cool things we're doing right now, Ryan, is we're actually for early adapters, we're giving every early adapter a free month of our Sharp Bets service, which is our community Discord. All the cappers you see on the app in the videos are actually tipping their bets there. And we have our premium tools built in. So handicapping models for NFL, NBA, really just an all-purpose sports betting community. So we're giving that to everyone for the first 1,000 downloaders or registrants. Wow. We're giving a free month of that service as well to kind of get them introduced to being part of a sports betting community, very similar to what I built in DFS Army on the community side.
Sure. That's awesome. That's amazing. Well, Kevin, I really appreciate it. I don't want to keep you all day. I know you are a busy man. You are now an app owner. You're a site owner. I mean, you got a lot going on, and this industry is not going to slow down. We got football coming, as you well know. I mean, DFS is going to be hot and heavy with football coming here in the week and a half now, I think, right? Week and a half. We start actually a week and a couple of days. We start Thursday night football. I'm excited for that. But man, congrats on the success with this app. What's one thing, this audience that's probably watching this is a little more business related of an audience. So a lot of, people that have business minds. What's one thing that you may need? What's one thing you're looking for? Is there anything that the people watching this may be able to help you as you move forward with this app?
I mean, that's an unprepared for question right there. But, one of the things I would say is this. Listen, our group that started this, that put this together, we definitely are not experienced with this level or this size of an operation. So one of the challenges for us has been actually much more so on the scaling. Part of it has been on the fundraising side, which is not something I've done before as a CEO. So there have definitely been, I'm not going to call them challenges. I'm going to call them learning experiences.
There you go.
In getting organized as a much larger entity. I run my other business as my own. It's so I've never really had to answer to anybody or had to kind of deal with investors and things like that. But this being a much larger project with involving investors and more of what I'd call like a traditional startup operation with all of the things that go along with it, that's been the most challenging, like the legal and a lot of that stuff has been challenging. It takes up a lot of my time, contract writing. So it's just been fascinating. And of course, the big thing for us right now is we're trying to focus primarily on user acquisition above monetization. So we feel like, hey, let's get a lot of users. Let's make an awesome product that people really like to use. And we'll figure out how to sort of monetize things down the road. And that's a little bit of our approach right now. But doing that certainly, has its challenges because, again, you have your expenses and you're not really covering them early on. So those have been some of the challenges, the fundraising and the challenges of a larger type of operation compared to really just building a business for yourself where you don't have to answer to anybody.
Awesome. This is Kevin Epstein, the CEO of Sharp App. Kevin, I really appreciate you giving us 30 to almost 40 minutes here of your time. Any last words, anything we missed, anything you wanted to talk about here before we let you go?
No, that's it. Just, get the app, check it out. One of the things that we have going on the app for regular users, our free bet of the day, which we put out every day. John Alessia puts out his favorite bet. It's been incredible. I think he's 10-1 over the last 11 days. So if you do nothing else, you might want to just download the app and follow the free bet of the day every day and have like a little bit of fun on what's on a bet that's been smashing on the daily. But of course, we want you to take the Academy training course, get sharp, and hopefully be successful in your sports betting endeavors.
I love it. I love it. Kevin, I really appreciate you being here. Everybody listening, please head out to sharp.app, head out to your app stores, Google, Apple, download the Sharp app. I know I did. I'm hopefully one of the first 1,000. I'll take advantage of some of the bonuses and things that are a part of that. Man, what a great idea and a great concept. I really look forward to seeing where this leads, Kevin. And if I can be any help to you, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Hey, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you guys, not just get the app, but wanted to get a hold of you guys, how did they make that happen?
Yeah, just hit me up. We can. My Twitter is at @FootballGeek. You can hit me up anytime there. Our Sharp Twitter is at the Sharp app. So check us out there. We're putting out a lot of info, a lot of really good nuggets on the on the Twitter page as well. Just interesting sports betting nuggets that are being put out there all the time, trends, things like that. So it's a really cool Twitter to follow. And beyond that, I'm always available. You can hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm there, happy to talk sports betting, happy to talk fantasy football. As a matter of fact, you got your fantasy football questions, I'll answer those too. I don't discriminate. I love it. I love the season.
I love the you're a industry vet, and you just love it all. I really appreciate that about you, Kevin, and thank you for your time. Appreciate that, and we'll talk to you soon. So take care. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks.
That was Kevin Epstein, CEO and founder of Sharp App. Really appreciated the time we got there. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview, and I really encourage you to go out there and check out the Sharp App. I mean, I think, some nuggets that I took away from that, when you build something with yourself in mind, when you build something from that mindset of like, man, this is what I need, I think it goes a lot further than just simply saying, all right, how can I make money with this product? Or what's the best way to monetize it? You're building a real valuable thing because you have the problems. You have the issues. You're trying to solve those and make those happen. So, I really loved hearing that from Kevin and some of the other things that the Sharp App's doing. So thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Ryan Newpel, LinkedIn, Noob Sports, out on Twitter, out on any of the social media. We're there. So we'll take care. We will have this on a transcription, so we'll have all the links and everything Kevin mentioned will be linked up out there, so don't feel like you have to go back and write those down. We'll get them all linked up in the show notes after this. So take care. Stay safe. Until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.